Most people believe that more equal societies do better, and I certainly agree with that myself, but yet others will argue convincingly, they'll argue stubbornly, that you need some inequality in society, that inequality is necessary as a stimulus to economic activity. It keeps us real, it keeps us on our toes. And that's fine so far as it goes, but I don't accept that indicators of inequality, like, for example, unequal payouts between men and women, the exclusion of disabled and older people from the workplace, homophobic bullying in the workplace and at schools, the cumulative discrimination against non-Irish nationals, the health and education inequalities of travellers. I don't believe that any of these are indicators of a stimulus to drive economic activity. They're all indicators of societal, political failure. And they're indicators of political failure and societal failure with tragic human consequences. And it would be my intention, if elected to Seanad Éireann, to use the position of the Seanad to human rights and equality proof all legislative and policy measures, so that there is a real and serious appraisal of the impact of legislative proposals on all vulnerable groups, on all minority groups, and on people affected by legislative action, people affected by public policy. You're aware that the rights covered by the Convention include the right to life, the right to freedom from torture and human or degrading treatment or punishment, freedom from slavery or compulsory labour, the liberty and security of the person. The difficulty with constitutional reform is it's always done in a reactive way. People, enact a constitutional amendment to ratify a European treaty. People enact a constitutional amendment to change the bail laws. People enact a constitutional amendment to address some perceived crisis or other, or to deal with a technical thing. And in a sense, that's not the way we should approach constitutional reform. We're now at a moment where every political party is focused on the question of constitutional reform. And yes, some of that is opportunistic, and some of that is shallow, and some of that is gimmicky, for example, abolishing the Seanad. Is it about the state using lethal force too much, or is it about how the state investigates the use of lethal force or disappearances or that kind of? But I do think that it's an opportunity for those of us who are concerned and concerned deeply about the Constitution and the degree to which the Constitution contributes to the real condition in which we find ourselves in this country at this time. I think it presents an ideal opportunity to engage, and to engage directly in the political processes of the country. So insofar as I have any view on this, I have a number of values that, in a sense, inform my approach to constitutional reform. I think we should be open to the influence of international law. I think we should be aware and sensitive to the European context in which our constitution exists now. In other words, an Irish constitution should express the diversity of Ireland within the wider framework of Europe in all of its diversity. I think we should be open to having human rights provisions in the Constitution that are relevant to the Ireland of today, not to the Ireland of 1937, where they may not have been relevant at that time itself. Those are the kind of things that I think we need to focus on. What will matter almost as much as the outcome is the process. And I think that there is a great opportunity right now to have a process of constitutional review that involves the people, that involves all of the people, and that involves all of the stakeholders in Irish society. That's an absolutely invaluable opportunity, and I would like very strongly to contribute to that. The current approach to criminal justice and penal policy simply doesn't work. So to argue for more of the same makes absolutely no sense. In fact, it offends against common sense. What I would like to argue for in the context of crime is a common sense approach that works. So I would argue for things like early intervention, community policing, intelligence-led policing, and above all else, and this is particularly important in relation to prisons, penal moderation. And none of these are things that can be characterised as soft on crime. Far from being soft on crime, they are far more concerned with the causes of crime and the deep-rooted causes of crime, and they will yield results that are far better than the results yielded by hyper-legislating in this area. All I'm arguing for is a common sense approach that works. I'm seeking election to an undemocratic parliament that is on the brink of abolition because I want to make democracy better. And my argument is essentially this. Yes, it is hypocritical to seek election to a parliament like that for the purpose for which I seek election, but it is a platform that can be used well and to good effect to advance precisely the kind of things that I would like to advance in the area of human rights and democracy.